one of the most powerful themes, I think, in meditation training, especially in Buddhist training, is what we call the Tibetan Lodok Namshi, or four aspects or four things that turn our mind towards the Dharma or the truth. And it's the notion of turning our mind towards what's important. And in maybe a more modern way of kind of looking at it as four things that ground our mind or bring it into this level of reality. And it's almost like we're saying reality check. So one of the themes is appreciation or taljor, the notion of really reflecting on how fortunate our life is and how fortunate we are. So we think about how rare it is just to be born, how being a human being is incredibly precious compared to, for example, animals and other beings who may be beautiful in their own way, but basically don't have a lot of control over their destiny. We see a lot of times, an animal, you can tell them they're going to die tomorrow, but they have no kind of comprehensive way maybe of experiencing it. If we are told we're going to be dying tomorrow, it has a profound effect on everything that happens. And in that way, we actually reflect in saying we could die tomorrow. I mean, something could happen and we don't know how long we're going to be living. So reflecting about how precious is what we have. So I think it's a very powerful tool, because essentially what it does is it makes a day a lifetime. And I always felt that was very powerful. A lot of times we live today, we say we have today, and we also have 365 more days just like today. And the reality is that theoretically we kind of understand what that means, but experientially you can't live all those days at once. You have to live one day at a time, one moment at a time. So it's not just being overly poetic or a simplification, it's the reality. So a lot of what happens is that when we think we have more time than we do, we pay less attention to what's happening. Each action becomes meaningless because we say, there's more of them. And it's like if we have a lot of fruit, or we have a bunch of eggs in the refrigerator and we have one, obviously that one egg becomes a lot more precious. And when we have a lot of friends and then we only have one friend, whatever it is, it comes down to when we realize what we have, and we realize we have one life, we have this moment, we have this day, and how we're going to relate to it. And then we get spoiled, and when we get spoiled, we become careless. So if we don't respect the life that we have, we don't respect the people and the friends we have, they become more dispensable, and what we do becomes more dispensable. And living life this way, I think creates a sort of a superficial level, shallow level. So the contemplation of grounding our mind is just reminding ourselves, something could happen. We should appreciate who we are, what we are. The day from when we get up to when we go to bed is what we have, and what are we going to do with that day? The way that I think about it is the mind, it works on habit. So if you begin to habitually train your mind to be shallow, to be careless, that's how it's going to be more tomorrow. If you train it to be more deep and more insightful, it'll be more deep and insightful tomorrow. So what happens is by our getting up in the morning thinking, another day, who cares, or I have to rush through this, we're actually ingraining that habit. So tomorrow we're more likely to rush and to be less caring and less interested tomorrow. So we think, when it's really important, I'll be more caring. But it's going to be hard because we've in a sense trained ourselves the opposite way. So a lot of times when something really important happens, we just don't know how to deal with it because we've actually trained ourselves the other way. So the notion of training ourselves or grounding ourselves, and I think the mind is very powerful because if we most of us, when we have the time to relax and focus and meditate or focus, all of a sudden the reality comes through. We're very affected by it. So we have a day, it's a lifetime. What do you want to do in this lifetime? What do you want to do in this day? What's important? Well, clearly if we have friends, we'd say, I want to tell them how much I love them. I want to listen to what they're saying. I want to see them. I'm not going to just lay my trip on them. When I'm eating my food, I'm not just going to gobble it up and kind of throw it away. I'm going to enjoy each bite. And again, it doesn't have to be slow motion. We don't have to become, you know, time doesn't have to stand still, but just the attitude and appreciation. So that's kind of the notion of free and well-favored. You know, we are free, we are well-favored, we are fortunate. When do we realize that? When do we wake up to that? If we can wake up to that, then it's almost like I feel like, you know, it's like really good hot sauce on, you know, life. You know, you put it on and it makes everything taste better. And what we do is we sort of, you know, taking all the taste away from our life. And so we need to put that back in. And from the wisdom that we have, if we put it back in using this technique or this practice of reflecting of how fortunate we are, we don't know how long it's going to be here, how long we will have it. And we're not stupid. We realize, oh, that's not some sort of mental game or trick. It's reality. Okay, if we don't have tomorrow, then how are we going to live today? Well, more appreciatively, more carefully. And then in the back of our mind, we think, oh, this is good. It's helping me deepen. So if I have another day, it will be a deep day. It will be a more important day. And then, you know, that's what we call a full life or enlightened life.